Welcome to another episode of the Sulia podcast. This is not just any episode. This episode is going to go down as historic. It's going to go down as one of the monumental episodes we've ever had because in this episode, we are going to deal with CAF. CAF's appellate body has just brought out a ruling or handed out a ruling stripping Senegal off the AFCON victory which happened in January and declaring the match as a forfeiture, meaning Morocco wins that final by 3-0 and Senegal are no longer your African Cup champions. You see, before I go into this episode, I'm going to have a recap on what happened in the day for people who have forgotten what happened. And then I'm going to give you a legal analysis of why CAF goofed the bed. And this episode is particularly made for people who keep on saying the law is the law. People who have never studied the law and always say the law is the law without the recognition that the law is a reflection of a society in which we find ourselves. The law is sometimes not necessarily the law. The law in a situation provides a varied alternatives in which people who are empowered to interpret the law can choose an alternative which works for them. So the law is not always the law as people would always want us to see. Man, I'm going to give you the explanation, the CAF decision, why I believe CAF has goofed with that decision, and how Senegal would definitely appeal. Senegal might win on the appeal. But away from the legal side, we are also going to talk about how this sets African football back further years, way longer than we are already suffering from, and how this is going to be a huge dent and blot on Patrice Motsepe's legacy as CAF president, considering that he's done a lot for African football, but how this set him way back in African football back. So relax, enjoy the show. Welcome to another episode of the Sulia podcast. So for those who have forgotten the final, let's go back on the final. So in the African Cup of Nations finals, Senegal faced Morocco in the final. Prior to that, and this is conspiracy theory, prior to that, a lot of people were talking about how allegedly things were being altered in a way for Morocco to win the AFCON because they are hosting a lot of yada yada yada. You can go back on my episodes on YouTube, you will see that we've dealt with everything till today. Now in the game, this is what we call facts. In a law school or in a law court, this is what we call facts of the case. The facts of the case are this. Within the game, in the 80th minute, Senegal scores a goal. And the officials did not accept the goal due to jostling and pulling, what the officials deemed to be pulling and jostling. This was an official's decision and it counted. So they did not accept the goal. 2 minutes or 3 minutes later, a Moroccan player was adjudged to have been fouled, and this was literally the last kick of the game, upon which the Senegalese players and officials, some Senegalese players and officials, walked off the pitch. And upon walking off the pitch, this is what most people have interpreted as forfeiture. Again, I will tell you that withdrawal, if you go into CAF's regulations, the definition of withdrawal is not expressly there. So that's also up to interpretation. So after they walked off the pitch, after some 20 minutes later and after halting the game for a very long time, they were called onto the pitch. And the referee allowed the game to continue after the Senegalese players were called on the pitch. Upon which, when they were called on the pitch, the penalty was still awarded to Morocco as was awarded during the game. Morocco go on to play the penalty. They miss, or Brahim Diaz misses, Edouard Mendy saves the penalty. The game travels, then we move on from there and go on to 30 minutes extra in extra time. And during extra time, Senegal scores and then wins. This is what essentially happens. After the game, Morocco protests and appeals the decision because Morocco's argument being that by walking off the pitch after the referee awarded the penalty, what Senegal did was forfeiting the game. So in forfeiting the game, according to Article 82 and Article 84 of CAF's regulation on the African Cup of Nations, that is a withdrawal. And a withdrawal is a forfeiture in football. A forfeiture in football means that the team which withdrew from the game without the referee's authorization loses by 3-0. So that is the argument that is being made. And mind you, the decision that has come out by CAF, we do not have the full decision to read. What we got are a summary by CAF media. So it's just a juxtaposition and just a postulation of the arguments that were made by both sides. So if you do read Article 84 of CAF's regulations, which I have here, Article 82 says that if for any reason whatsoever a team withdraws from the competition or does not report to a match or refuses to play or leaves the ground before the regular end of the match without the authorization of the referee, it shall be considered loser and shall be eliminated for good from the current competition. The same shall apply for the team previously disqualified by decision of CAF. And Article 84 says, the team, so I think Article 84 is the punishing section. Article 84 says, the team which contravenes the provisions of Articles 82 and 83 shall be eliminated for good from the competition. The team will lose its match by 3-0 unless the opponent has scored a more advantageous result at the time the match was interrupted. In this case, this score will be maintained. So legally, if a team, and you see, look at the language that is used in Article 82. If I'm sure Senegal had competent lawyers who made that same argument. You would be considered when a team refuses to play or leaves the ground before the regular end of the match without the key word here is without the authorization of the referee, it shall be considered loser and shall be eliminated for good from the competition. Now the question is, first of all, if a team leaves the ground of play, the question is, if 2 or 3 members of a team are still on the ground of the play when majority of the team has left the pitch, can it be determined or can it be interpreted as the team has left the ground of play, or can it be determined as withdrawal? Because not every single player or member of the team left the ground of play. There was Sadio Mane still on the ground of play. There was Idris Aganagay still on the play. So technically, not every member of the team had left play. But that aside, this is not even the main point. I'm just trying to show loopholes. But second, they said it has to be without the authorization of the referee. Mind you, this is very important because the referee then allows them to play. So if say agreed that everyone left without the authorization of the referee, and the referee allows plays to go on, is the referee not aware of this law? The best thing the referee could have done was to say that they have forfeited and then end the game. The referee did not end the game. So can we imply that the authorization of the referee was not necessarily rectified? That's the right. Can we say that the decision of the referee was rectified then, because the referee has in his power to end the game? The referee does not end the game. He continues with the game. But this is not even the main point. These are like legal loopholes I can see on the first reading. But the main point is this, and this is for those who do not know the law. And I always say the law is the law. Laws exist in hierarchy. Laws exist in structure. That's why, simple example, let's say Ghana. You have different types of court, different type of appellate court. Or even in your private organization, Sporty FM, say Malam Go podcast, in your private organizations, you have rules. But if you always go into the details of every rule you have as an organization, your rule is subservient to the laws of Ghana. The laws of Ghana would have a higher hierarchy, and every law you make would have to be respectful to the laws of Ghana. It's the same way with administrative football. The laws of football are made by an international body called the International Football Association body, IFAB. They make the rules of football. And within the rules of football, the rules of IFAB is superior to CAF rules, to CONCACAF rules, to UEFA rules. Every rule of football would have to adhere to IFAB rules. I'm breaking this down as easily as possible. Within IFAB rules, there is a power of referees and there's a power in refereeing decision. That the decision of a referee made on a football field is final. And so that is why you cannot re-officiate games in boardrooms, because per an international rule to which this CAF rules which this CAF regulation is subservient to. So any regulation in this, which you would want to interpret, should be subservient to IFAB rules, which is an international rules which governs football. It's simplicity. So Law 5 of the IFAB rule says decision will be made to the best of the referee's ability according to the laws of the game and in the spirit of the game, and will be based on the opinion of the referee, which has the discretion to take appropriate action within the framework of the laws of the game. The decisions of the referee regarding facts connected to play, whether or not goal is scored, and the results of the match are final. The decision of the referee and all other match officials must always be respected. End of case. You see, Yapon. There is no need to all this hula baloo, because the authority you are using is subservient to another authority which tells you that the decision of the referee was final. And what was the decision of the referee? The referee rectified his own approval. You said he if it was breached, it would mean it is unlawful. So on a legal basis, if you are strictly going by the laws of game and if you are going by hierarchy of the laws, the IFAB rules are superior to CAF regulations, and it's just as simple as that. To other people who keep on saying Senegal disgraced African football, yada yada yada. If Senegal disgraced African football, I'm telling you that this has set African football over some 50 years back. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like this ever in my life. To those who say the law is the law, once upon a time, there were laws on slavery. Laws allowed slavery. The whole concept of the law is really ridiculous. And that's what I'm saying. You can always interpret the law in a different way. That's why the disciplinary committee of CAF had a different interpretation. And Senegal would rightfully appeal this. Law is a reflection of so many things. So to just say the law is the law, when the law does not give as much clarity as to what a withdrawal is, it doesn't even explain what a withdrawal is. It expects anyone to know what a withdrawal is. And that's why this is a very novel case. As was there necessarily a withdrawal in this case? I mean, you can always come with your bias and maybe you don't like how Senegal went about it, but please don't say the law is the law. It's very hard to hear those kind of things. And with Dr. Patrice Motsepe, I think he's done a lot for African football, but these things happening because there is a tag on CAF football that they are Morocco's errand boys and they do what Morocco likes. I mean, this does not do anything to alleviate that tag. It's if not for anything, it festers and strengthens the case Senegal had that the odds were stacked against them in the beginning. So, but I think there is a need to also differentiate between the fact that, well, Dr. Patrice Motsepe is not on the appellate board to make decisions, but then again, it is still his house. He runs that house. He might not have a say in it, but anything that goes and comes back, no one would remember the appellate judges. Everyone would put it at the doorsteps of Dr. Patrice Motsepe. It's sad that this is happening, and that's why in the history of football, there have been so many injustices, but you don't go back to re-officiate the game. You cannot go back to re-officiate Maradona's hand of God. You cannot go back to re-officiate Thierry Henry's handball against Ireland. You cannot go back to re-officiate all of these things, because what we are going to get now is that we are going to be stuck in a time loop whereby you are going to, if Senegal appeals and wins, next month we have a new African AFCON winner, Senegal, and Morocco re-appeals. You are going to have this over and over and over again. There is the need for us to understand hierarchy of law, and I think this decision has set African football back for a football that has already been a laughing stock. I feel like everyone had moved on from this. Everyone had moved on from this, and what this does is that it brings us in the focal point as to re-officiating games. Football is won on the pitch. Football should never be won in the boardroom. I mean, you cannot erase the goal that was scored. You cannot erase the fact that Brahim Diaz missed the penalty. You cannot erase these moments and these feelings people had in the moment. Be it whatever you think of Senegal's attitude. And that's why fines were handed out and suspensions and bans were handed out. You just can't go into the game too. Because what you are essentially doing is you are changing the scoreline of the game. If any decision was supposed to be taken, it was supposed to be taken on the field by a representative of CAF, which is the arbiter, which is the referee. You watched on, and that's why the legal principle of estoppel, I don't know if equity works in this case, but even in the equitable principle of estoppel, everyone knows that once there is a wrong that goes on, and then you continue with the wrong, you watch on as the wrong goes on, you cannot come back to say, oh, well, the wrong went on, and so we are coming back, whilst you acquiesce to the wrong going on. Brahim Diaz, if you want to, again, I'm saying I don't know if estoppel works here, but then if you are putting it in that same line, Morocco coming back to take the penalty and then missing it is more of an acquiescence in my from my point of view. And the CAF president went on, they went to give them the medals, they gave them the trophy, they went to Senegal to present it. You cannot then be heard to come back to say, well, they should have forfeited the game. Your representative, which is the referee, should have known the laws of the game and then called for the forfeiture. He didn't do that. He didn't abide by the rules of the game. He allowed the game to go on, and a goal was scored and a winner was rightfully crowned. This is setting the football back. You can go online, just see Jamie Carragher having a laugh, because it's always called the African game a clown show, and that's what we are doing right now. We are being clowns to the rest of the world. And like I was telling my friend, all my Pan-Africanism has disappeared today. But let me know your thoughts and comment, and then share, subscribe to the Sulia podcast. And then it was lovely coming your way. Bye.